Okay, let's continue. This lecture we are going to discuss the supervised and unsupervised machine learning. So we are going to start from what is machine learning, and without machine learning, what tasks can we do, and what tasks can we do better with machine learning. So let's start from a really basic example. So if we don't use machine learning, what else can we do? So let me give you a scenario in the very old days. Say, I started using emails probably in 1999, 1998. So at that time, I was using the Outlook built into Windows 98. It was really old. At that time, there's no such thing called spam filter. And later, when people get annoyed with spams, and what people could do at that time was people can write rules. So, for example, if I registered my email with a website and later this website keep on sending me emails, and probably I can come up with a set of keywords. So when you see keyword A and keyword B, and just throw that into the spam folder because that is a spam based on my experience. So at that time, there was no machine learning based spam filter. So I end up with writing a bunch of rules by myself. And later, guess what? I just give up because writing those rules can be so hard sometimes, and eventually you may have some rules cancel each other. So you may say, okay, if you see this word, this is not a spam. However, later I add another rule saying if I see this word together with another word, that is a spam. So eventually writing the rules and managing the rules could be such a pain. And later, luckily we have machine learning based spam filters. So now you don't have to write the rules to filter your spams. But in the old days, without machine learning, this is what we have to do. We have to write rules, and then we can write the rules and use this rule based model for machine learning, and then we can evaluate the results. In most of the cases, it didn't run so well unless the problem is really small. So, and what is machine learning? And there are two definitions I have listed, and I like the second one a little bit better. So that is using algorithms that iteratively learn from data. Machine learning allows computers to find hidden insights without being explicitly programmed where to look. So just now, when we are talking about the rule-based machine learning, the problem was we have to program the rules and build the rules into the model. And this is the hard part. So eventually, if we have a big volume of spams, we are not able to write the rules one by one. So eventually, what we want to do is we want to have a machine learning model. It studies the rule from the data itself without asking me to build those rules into the model. So now the machine learning is really used a lot in different scenarios, say fraud detection and web search results and real-time ads on the web browser, for example. So those are just a few very common things we are able to do with machine learnings. So here is the general process of a machine learning project. So as we discussed in the last lecture, we are going to start from acquiring the data, and from time to time, I have to convince my collaborators, if you can give me the right data, the project is halfway done. And sometimes it is really the truth. Well, and you may say, why the data is so hard to get? So probably the first reason is not the common reason, but in the research world it is common. That is, the data sometimes they can be quite expensive. Let me give an example. So I'm working with a ocean science person right now, and she told me, there are some ocean data, and they are collected with the buoys. They set up the buoys, and the buoy will stay in the ocean for a long time. And that buoy itself is very expensive. Sometimes, well, the buoys stop working, or sometimes someone even stole the buoys away. And then it may take super long for them to replace that buoy. So when I look into the data, I find, okay, there's some missing data here. And I asked her why. And she told me someone just stole that buoy, and then they can actually track the moving track of that buoy. Unfortunately, they can't get it back, and replacing that buoy is super expensive, so they have some missing data. And another reason is, well, when we talk about the ethics in the future of this semester, well, some data has a super high ethics ethical risk. So the owner of this kind of data might be super conservative. They have the data, they also have the problem, they want the answers. However, they are super reluctant to give you the data. That's another reason. And in the industry, well, the story could be different. It could be that, well, they have a very strict rule for you to access the data. You have to jump through multiple hoops before you can do that. Or as a data scientist, you have to know the DBA, which is the database administrator. So you have to know the DBA, and then the DBA will be the person to help you get the data. So you can't really have direct access to the database. You have to beg the DBA to get you the data. So getting the data, it's really a hard part. And then the next part, data cleaning. So you have to clean the data and try to make the data usable for the machine learning models. And after that, you have to build the machine learning model, test the model, and then this is an iterative process, because this can be done multiple rounds before you can have an acceptable result. Well, and before that, before you start to build the machine learning model, you also have to get a very clear mind on what are you doing. So sometimes your client will give you the data and say, okay, here's the data. Now do machine learning for me. And you may ask, what kind of machine learning do you want me to do? And they say, no, I don't know either. Well, in this case, there has to be a very, very long conversation between you and your customer so that you can really get the idea on what is their pain point. What kind of problem do they expect you to look into? And after you get this idea, and then you start this circle and then build the model, evaluate the model, and then retrain the model again, eventually you get something acceptable. And well, last part, model deployment. So if you want this machine learning process to be automated. For example, like if you are predicting the sales of your company, and then you every month you want your boss or your business client want to run this model again and get the prediction of the next month, the sales in the next month, and then this should be automated. And so you have to deploy a model to a server probably, and then this will keep on running using the new data set and then make the predictions for the next month. So this requires you to deploy the model. So sometimes it is your work, or sometimes your company may have a IT department or data engineers, and they may do that work for you. Otherwise, this may also be your work.